My name is Jason Gregg, and I grew up in Pittsburgh. I attended Northway Christian Community and with my family, and my brother and I were always involved in the youth ministry there. My parents are actually one of the founding members of Northway Christian Community, so my entire childhood was in the church. I met Natalie in 2002, make sure I get that right. We got married about a year and a half later, and it's going on 6 years of marriage now, and we also have a 9-year-old daughter named Kylie, who is in 4th grade. I'm sitting here in the lobby of a hospital, and this is a location that I've spent a lot of time in over the past 30-some years. I was diagnosed here at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center when I was about 6 months old, and the reason being was I was diagnosed as failure to thrive, which basically just meant that I was not growing in height or weight at the rate where I should be, and that kind of raised some red flags to them. And I was subsequently tested for cystic fibrosis and was tested positive. The life expectancy when I was born was, I believe, around 11 years old, so it was pretty grim when I was diagnosed. The difficult times didn't necessarily start until about high school, college age, and I really remember a change in college and my lung function declining. Just things like eating a lot of food would cause some breathing issues because my stomach would be full and kind of push up on my lungs, and sometimes bending over to tie my shoes would cut down on the oxygen levels and make it hard to breathe. And then within the last 5 years, I really started to notice significant changes. 2 years ago, I had to quit my job and I went on disability. My lung function continued to decline into the teens throughout the last 5 years. There were episodes where I would just start coughing out of control and not be able to breathe. There were times I would cough up blood a lot, and that was very scary. I spent 3 times last year in the hospital, and a couple years before that I was in and out once or twice for IV antibiotics to clean out the pneumonia. A person with as advanced lung disease as I have can burn up to 5,000 calories a day just in breathing. And so I was eating everything in sight and not gaining any weight, and I was always really tired just because of all the energy I was exerting just trying to breathe. Moved up to Pittsburgh in November. At that point, I was actually activated for the transplant list, which meant I just always had to have my cell phone on me and on at all times, and I could get a call at any moment's notice, and I had to drop what I was doing and get to the hospital. So it was an anxious time. At first, when I moved up here, anytime my cell phone rang, I mean, my heart would jump, and I'd get super nervous, and I'm thinking, okay, who is this, and is this the hospital? And finally, that started to die down after all the phone calls I was getting. On December 22nd, I was at dinner at one of my favorite Mexican restaurants up in Pittsburgh, and I was with about 8 friends and my brother. We were just having a good time catching up. I don't get to come to Pittsburgh all that often, so it's fun to see friends. And we had just pretty much finished eating our dinner, and my brother got up to leave, and just joking around as he always does, he said, "Hey Jay, make sure you don't get called tonight or tomorrow. I got a busy day tomorrow." And then he just kind of joked around and he left, and within 5 minutes later my cell phone rang, and I didn't notice the number, and so I said, yeah, I'm not going to answer it, not even thinking it could be my transplant coordinator. But then this little voice said, "Answer your phone," and so I picked up the phone, and it was my coordinator, Nancy, and she goes, "Merry Christmas, Jason, we got a pair for you." And just being in denial, I'm like, "A pair of what?" So she said, "We got a pair of lungs for you, we have a donor for you." And I said, "Oh my goodness." And I remember that exact moment, I just had this wave of emotion and anxiety and fear and hope and joy. I can't even explain it. And the surgeon came in around 2 in the morning and said, "We have a good set of lungs for you. We're going to be going in here in a minute. I'm going to give you a couple minutes with your family, and then we're going." And so, we all prayed, and I went in, and I remember as I was being wheeled out, I remember my wife going, "What are you thinking right now?" And I said, "I'm thinking that God won't forsake me through this."
So Jason's surgery was an operation that I think took about 8 or 9 hours. And in this procedure, the 2 diseased lungs get taken out one at a time, and new lungs get put in from an organ donor. And I recall thinking, we've had some really challenging, difficult patients, but this one's probably right up there as the number 1 or number 2 most complicated post-transplant course. So Jason came to us with a lot of maturity and with wonderful family support from his parents. He also showed us early on that he had a lot of faith. And I think his faith has really helped him deal with chronic illness and make the sacrifices that he had to make to stay healthy, yet while accomplishing the other things he wanted to do in life. And then along the way, he was fortunate to marry a wonderful woman who was there for the last couple years that really helped a lot.
I remember waking up from the anesthesia and being intubated and just being really, really confused. And I remember Natalie, being there and just saying, it went well. And then I was kind of in and out of consciousness for a while and ended up being on the transplant floor and just continuing to hear, the surgery went well. And it was a difficult surgery, according to the surgeons. He had some difficult times, but overall, he said it was a success.